Tonight, we take you to the heart of Europe, where Hungary is making a dramatic pivot. Once a post-Soviet success story, Hungary is now turning away from its Western allies and looking east, to China and the BRICS nations. Prime Minister Viktor Orbán calls this an Eastern opening, but critics warn it's a dangerous gamble. Hungary's shift is part of a wider global realignment. Join us as we investigate Hungary's break from the West and its bold, uncertain journey east. Tonight, we unpack this pivotal moment on the banks of the Danube. To understand Hungary's new direction, we must first look back. For decades, Hungary was trapped behind the Iron Curtain, its freedom suppressed by Soviet rule. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 was a liberation, and Hungary eagerly embraced the West. Joining NATO in 1999 and the EU in 2004, Hungary was hailed as a model of post-communist transition. Billions in EU funds modernized the country, and Hungary seemed firmly anchored in the West. But integration brought challenges. Painful economic reforms and rules from Brussels that sometimes clashed with national pride. Over time, these tensions grew. The Western path, once seen as the only path, began to look like just one option among others. Hungary's journey from Soviet satellite to Western ally was never simple. Underlying frustrations and shifting political winds set the stage for a new, more skeptical vision of Hungary's place in the world. The cracks in the Western consensus were widening, and soon Hungary would begin to look elsewhere for its future. The seeds of change had been planted. The question was when and how they would grow. The relationship between Hungary and its Western partners began to sour after Viktor Orbán's return to power in 2010. Orbán's government introduced sweeping changes, claiming to reclaim national sovereignty, but raising alarm in Brussels and Washington. Critics accused him of eroding democracy and silencing dissent, prompting the EU to launch legal proceedings. Orbán championed illiberal democracy, positioning himself against the liberal values of the EU. Policy clashes deepened the divide, especially during the 2015 migrant crisis, when Hungary built border fences and rejected EU quotas. More recently, Hungary's stance on Russia's war in Ukraine has set it apart, resisting sanctions and maintaining ties with Moscow. These tensions created mutual distrust. Budapest saw EU overreach. Brussels saw Hungary undermining shared values. As estrangement grew, Hungary became more receptive to new partnerships, ones that wouldn't lecture it on democracy or human rights. The stage was set for Hungary's deliberate turn to the east. The old alliances were fraying. Hungary was ready to chart its own course. The question was, at what cost, and to whose benefit? As Western doors closed, Hungary's Eastern opening policy accelerated. China became the centerpiece, offering investment without political strings. In 2015, Hungary became the first EU country to join China's Belt and Road Initiative, positioning itself as Beijing's gateway to Europe. Major projects followed, like the high-speed rail line from Budapest to Belgrade, financed and built by Chinese companies. Supporters say it will make Hungary a logistics hub. Critics warn of debt and lack of transparency. The relationship expanded. Hungary blocked EU criticism of China's human rights record and announced plans for a Chinese university campus in Budapest. Protests erupted with fears of growing Chinese influence inside the EU. The Eastern Overture was no longer just policy, it was becoming reality. Hungary was betting on China's rise, but the risks, economic, political, and social, were mounting. The partnership was deepening, and so were the divisions at home and abroad. Hungary's pivot was now impossible to ignore. The world was watching, and the stakes were rising. Economic ties between Hungary and China have deepened dramatically. China is now one of Hungary's largest foreign investors, especially in electric vehicles and batteries. Chinese giants like CATL and BYD have built massive factories, creating jobs and making Hungary a key player in Europe's green transition. Orbán's government touts this as a major victory, but critics warn of growing dependence on Chinese technology and capital. If EU-China tensions escalate, Hungary could be caught in the crossfire, torn between its largest trading partner and its largest investor. Local protests have erupted over environmental concerns tied to these new factories. Politically, Hungary has become China's most reliable advocate in the EU, using its veto to shield Beijing from criticism. This frustrates EU partners and undermines the bloc's unity on foreign policy. China's growing footprint in Hungary is about more than economics. it's about influence. Beijing now has a powerful voice inside Western institutions. Hungary's embrace of China is reshaping the balance of power in Europe. The consequences are only beginning to unfold. The question, who truly benefits from this new alliance and at what price? Hungary's ambitions go beyond China. It's now courting the expanded BRICS group. BRICS, now including Saudi Arabia, Iran, and others, is positioning itself as an alternative to Western-led institutions. In 2025, Hungary announced its intention to become a BRICS partner, seeking new markets and investment. Foreign Minister Szijjártó called it a logical extension of the Eastern opening, connecting Hungary to the world's fastest-growing economies. This move challenges the geopolitical status quo, aligning Hungary with countries under Western sanctions. EU and NATO officials worry Hungary could become a Trojan horse, undermining collective security and leaking sensitive information. The economic benefits are clear, but the political risks are immense. Potential isolation from the EU and NATO, and entanglement with diverse, sometimes competing interests. Hungary's BRICS gambit is a high-stakes bet. Will it bring prosperity, or leave Hungary stranded between rival blocs? The answer remains uncertain. Hungary is testing the limits of its alliances. The world is watching closely. The outcome could reshape Europe's future, and Hungary's place in it. To understand Hungary's strategy, we turn to Dr. Evelyn Reid, international relations expert. She sees Hungary as part of a broader trend, the fragmentation of the post-Cold War order. For decades, it was assumed globalization would spread Western values. Hungary's pivot suggests otherwise. Orbán is betting on a multipolar future, trying to benefit from both the EU and China. It's a risky balancing act, enjoying EU funds while building deep ties with China and BRICS. Dr. Reid warns that Chinese investments, especially in key industries, create long-term dependencies and strategic vulnerabilities. If tensions rise, Hungary's new industries could be at the mercy of decisions made far away. The economic gains come with hidden geopolitical costs. Hungary believes it can manage these relationships, but great powers play for high stakes. By acting as a bridge, Hungary risks becoming a battleground. In seeking more sovereignty, it may end up with less, caught between giants and alienated from old allies. Hungary's gamble is bold, but the dangers are real. The outcome will shape not just Hungary's future, but Europe's. The world is watching to see who wins this high-stakes game and who pays the price. Hungary's pivot is sending shockwaves through Europe. For the EU, it's an existential challenge. Shared values are undermined when a member aligns with authoritarian powers. Hungary's vetoes on China and Russia have paralyzed EU foreign policy, exposing deep divisions. Economically, Hungary's success with Chinese investment could tempt others to follow, risking a race to the bottom and fragmenting the single market. For NATO, Hungary's ambiguous stance on Russia and close ties to China erode trust and raise security concerns. Allies worry about intelligence sharing and the safety of sensitive technology. Globally, Hungary's story is a playbook and a warning for countries seeking to balance East and West. The risks are real: isolation, instability, and loss of security. Hungary's path could lead to prosperity or to peril. The choices made in Budapest will echo far beyond its borders. Europe's unity and the future of the Western Alliance hang in the balance. The world is watching, and the stakes are higher than ever. Tonight, we've witnessed a nation at a crossroads, Hungary, testing the limits of old alliances and forging new ones. The certainties of the post-Cold War era are gone. The West's magnetic pull is no longer absolute. Hungary's gamble is bold, balancing between East and West, betting on Chinese investment and BRICS partnerships. The consequences will ripple across Europe, challenge the unity of the EU and NATO, and influence the global contest between the US and China. Hungary's story is a powerful example for other nations navigating a multipolar world. The questions it raises about alliances, sovereignty, and security are ones we all must face. This story is still unfolding, shaping the world we live in. What holds alliances together? What is the price of sovereignty? The choices made on the Danube today will shape the answers for a generation. History is not over. It's being written now, and we all have a stake in its outcome. The world is watching Hungary's next move, and so are we.